All right, we are up, man.
We're live. We're over here reminiscing about 90s hip hop and getting what a way to. It's like, should we prep for the conversation? No, let's talk about hip hop. Okay.
Hola, привет, language learning lover.
Привет. Oh,
cool girl. How you all doing? But yeah, we were talking about like 90s and hip hop and early 2000s. Like I really miss DMX, you know. This was like who oh my god, come on. That's strange.
Oh, having the playback?
I posted this on Twitter and somehow it got switched back to the to the live, to be in the live and to listen to live. Oh man, technology.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Daydreamer 444. So Seabolt, my friend, what is new? Long time no see. We saw each other in the Luke kind of interview, but we didn't get to talk much about, you know.
Yeah. No, man, I've just been busy with some stuff. I just got back I spent a week in New Mexico / Arizona doing stuff with some Navajo related stuff, which was an incredible experience. And
my gosh.
Then today I just found out that my trip to Iceland is canceled because Icelandic Air canceled my flight. Because
you already had it booked.
Yeah, I was going. It was done. And I got an email yesterday that said Icelandic Air is not running on that day. They just canceled the flight. And it was calling Travelocity, and they were like, call us and we'll try to find another flight. And so I called them today, and they were like, oh man, the next flight it was almost a week later. And I was like, I can't be gone for 2.5 weeks. Like, right. I mean, as much as I would love to stay in Iceland for an extended period of time, it's just not something really feasible that I could do. So
no, man.
I had to, and what sucks is I can't really plan anything else. Like, it's not like I can take the money and go and do something else because it takes 8 to 12 weeks to get a refund.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So that's pretty much ruined. And it sucks because my channel, I mean, it's not that it's changing. It's still going to be language and culture, but I was starting to get some of the stuff together to do kind of more so entertainment versus just language update. The language updates are going to be there, but I also wanted to do like entertainment as well, going to these countries, experiencing the culture, things like that. And, that's,
well,
I guess that's just on hold. So,
yeah, well, you took the trip to the Navajo area, and you had the Iceland thing coming up. So you had everything kind of lined up. But, we're talking about you coming, I don't know, to Mexico for a weekend. You can most definitely do that, my brother.
Yeah. It's a possibility. Because, well, and the thing is with Mexico too, I wouldn't have to burn all my vacation days at work. Because I can make a weekend trip out of Mexico. It's a 4-hour flight.
People don't know how close it actually is. Mexico City to basically, you're in.
I would fly out of Charlotte, and it's like 4.5 hours from Charlotte to Mexico City.
That is really
nonstop.
Direct flight, right?
Yeah.
People don't realize how close it actually is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me living in Ohio, and when the Rolling Stones, they play like 3 or 4 dates. They like New York, Chicago, LA, and Toronto. And I'm like, I can't go to any of those dates in the States. And the other one's in Toronto. That's in Canada. No way. But really from like Toronto, from Ohio, it's just like, it's not that far. It's kind of like, I don't know, you from Mexico City. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind.
Yeah. In part, that's the thing. I want to do entertainment. I say entertainment, like I'm not meaning cheap entertainment, but I feel like I just feel like I could provide a lot more for people doing stuff like that, going to Iceland and eating some of their delicacies, and then visiting. Of course, they have like they have a beach over there with that's just pure black sand, and I could go to like some volcano, like just go and kind of, and then of course doing stuff in Reykjavik. And I know people are like, oh man, COVID, and I'm like, well, I get that, but the flight wasn't canceled because of COVID. Iceland is open if you're vaccinated, and they're one of the same. They had a spike last week, and it was like 4 cases. Like they're
that was a spike.
yeah, like they're as safe as it gets. But and that we just did the Navajo thing, me, and it was a guy named Dave who has a YouTube channel, Dave DC, and Xiaomanyc, and we went out there and we were all vaccinated. The family we stayed with was all vaccinated.
Oh, good.
And it's not like Navajo Nation is just crawling with human beings, so you can do it, and you can do it safely. And that was my plan for Iceland, but I guess not so much anymore. So,
well, at least, man, you got to leave your neck of the woods a little bit. Because I tell you what, I was, basically in Mexico City for over a year. Not even just Mexico City, literally my neighborhood. I've barely been out of my neighborhood, but I said, you know what, I'm going to take a trip, a weekend trip. So I went to this city called Puebla. Oh, and actually in Cholula, which is where the Polyglot conference is supposed to be this year. Let's hope it happens.
Yeah. And
it was just so nice to, get a change of scenery, breathe in new air, and literally new air because, there's a lot of people in Mexico City. So the pollution's kind of high. But living here, you get used to it. But only when you leave, you realize, oh, that's what fresh air is, feels like, smells like.
Yeah.
But it was so cool just to try different foods, see different places, just walk around. Like I came back feeling so just rejuvenated. So
right. No, man, it's always good to get away. And that's the thing. Like I've never actually been one for going anywhere. And a lot of it's just because I don't want to go anywhere within the United States. The Navajo thing came up, and I was like, well, that's like, it's not like I'm just going to like, well, I don't want to say I have a friend that lives in Florida. I don't know if he'd ever see this or not, but it would be different. Like, it's not like I'm just going to like Florida to chill on a beach. Like that was an opportunity to go and basically feel like you're outside of the country while you're inside the country. And so like that came up, but I've never really been one to go anywhere. I never had a passport or anything like that.
You just got it, man. I remember you like sent me the pic, like ready to go.
Yep. And then, it's like, all of a sudden I get this kind of this opportunity, very, very fortunate opportunity to be able to do some things now, and I can't. Like I never wanted to, and I could, and now I can, and I can't.
But isn't that just the way life is, dude? Come on, you know that. So it's almost like,
yeah. But I mean, like if Navajo Nation taught me anything, it's that you don't have to go to Philadelphia or Detroit or Seattle or anything like that. You can go to some incredible places within the United States safely and experience a whole different culture. I could go to San Diego, for example, even, and experience Latin culture like I've never experienced it before. Or I could go to, I know there's a town in Michigan where that's like where the most densely populated Finnish population in the United States is.
Right. Wow.
Like, so I mean, you can go. I mean, it's obviously not the same, but you could still at least go and, I've told Xiaomanyc on the way back, I said, for the first time in my life, I felt what it's like. Well, not exactly, but just go with what I'm saying here. I said, for the first time in my life, I felt kind of what it was like to be a minority, because everybody in Navajo Nation is Navajo. There's no white people there. And so for the first time, I got that kind of feeling of what, and again, I know it's not the same thing, and I'm not saying it is, but I mean, like, I got that feeling of like, okay, I'm not the major thing here. Like we're the odd people at, like, we look different than everybody else. We're the people that, we're the people that stand out. Not stand out's not maybe the right word, but I mean, like, you get what I'm saying. Like, it's we were there and everybody was Navajo, and here just a couple white dudes come walking in. Like, it is for the first time I felt like, okay, like I'm in the minority. Like it's like I kind of had a better understanding for, and again, that doesn't have anything to do with people going through prejudiceness or races or anything like that. I'm not comparing those aspects. I'm just saying from a standpoint of I've never not been in an area where it's predominantly people that look like me.
Well, and that's a good thing, because even though you didn't leave the country, you had this experience, and well, some people don't have that experience, and I think the more positive experience like this we have, the better. It's like the whole idea of traveling is that you push yourself out of your comfort zone. You realize that your way is not the only way, that you're kind of like the people that you grew up around, not the only kind of people. Just in Ohio, like I was really thinking about it, like, in these months, I'm kind of from like a suburban area in Ohio. Like it's kind of just like what I consider like a traditional high school, but like, I went to a university called the University of Akron, and
that's where Jason Taylor played.
Oh yeah, football. Exactly. You know that, right? Oh
yeah.
Man, sports trivia.
Yep.
Seabolt coming through.
I was a huge Miami Dolphins fan growing up.
Oh shoot! But anyway, like, it turns out that Ohio is rather diverse. Because we've got, diverse not so much, maybe in like racial aspects, but in terms of just like cultural aspects of Ohio, because like I come from like a suburban area. There's like city areas, and then there's country areas, and like all of a sudden I was intermingling with like, I felt that the city people were closer to how I was, but like I got to meet a lot of like people who I didn't realize at the time were just simply like kind of from really rural areas in Ohio, and you could kind of just see how it was, and kind of interesting. But
yeah, well, Ohio, just you could tell by Moses's videos, man, people migrate to Ohio from all over. He spoke every language that he spoke right in Columbus and didn't have to move. So, it's people migrate to Ohio for whatever reason. It's a hub.
You know what? Columbus, they say, is actually one of the places that has like, I don't know, I think it's what's the word that it's, has a very good, help me. I'm
like the most diversely populated,
it's a good place for like what you earn versus what you get. What's
cost of living,
cost of living, something like this, right? And if I wasn't like so kind of out on Ohio, I lived there all my life other than Mexico, like I would move to Columbus. But now living in Mexico, when I go back to the States, I have kind of like two criteria. Like one, no more cold, all right? Because like when you live in perfect weather, that you're just ruined, right?
Right.
And the second criteria is like, I want to live in a place where there's diversity. Going back to what you said, you could go to California or wherever, and you could literally, it's just like Mexico, because that used to be Mexico.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm thinking like Florida, which is, has a high Latin population, has a Brazilian population, because I want my life, I want culture to be in my life always. I want language to be in my life always. So I want to live in a place where those things intermingle. And I'm kind of leaning towards Florida at the moment when I go back to kind of, find residence and all that, but we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't be too far away from you, my buddy.
Florida's, I can fly from Charlotte to Orlando in like 45 minutes.
That it's like that. Oh
yeah, shit. I don't think it's that long. I can tell you. I'll look it up right now.
Flight of 45 minutes cost.
If you fly from Charlotte to Orlando, you can usually get a flight for about $60.
Oh man, that's killer.
Let's see, Charlotte. That was what was funny when I flew, because we flew into Durango, Colorado. You fly from. They flew from New York. I flew from Charlotte, flying to Denver, and then you fly to Durango. And the flight from Denver to Durango is so short that can't find any flights from what? Oh, probably because the date is already passed. Sorry, I was on today. But the flight from Denver to Durango is so short that like basically by the time you finally reach your peak, the captain's like, and we're gonna start our descent down into Durango. It was like 39 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like a 6.5 hour drive, but it's like a 39-minute flight.
Oh man.
Travelocity is being slow as crap. There we go.
Yeah, I was checking out some of your Instagram photos. You were out in like the like in the canyons and out in just like the open,
Yeah.
just that traditional kind of Western, or however you want to call it, look.
Take that back. It's an hour and a half. Okay, a lot longer than I thought it was. Yeah. I was. We were out in the middle of. I mean, literally in the middle of nowhere. We had, like, if you didn't have a 4-wheel drive vehicle or an SUV, you wouldn't have made it. Because I mean,
how you get around?
A lot of the roads that we were going on, because we didn't just go to Navajo Nation. We literally lived with a traditional Navajo family, like they're like off the grid, off the road, just back in the desert. We stayed in a Hogan. I mean, it's dirt floors. Like we, went all out. And if you didn't have an SUV, you're not making it to those roads, because it's literally just roads that they've drove on so long. It's kind of carved a path. So yeah, it was.
I haven't gotten to see the video yet. I know he just released it today. It's kind of been out of the house.
There's two parts of it. The one that he just released was the one where he spoke Navajo to people. And then the second one is going to be the living with the family. I've got my video ready to go. I guess I'll release it at the same time he releases his, because I'm not going to release mine early. So,
but dude, tell me how that was. Like, you arrived
mm-hmm.
You got to the airport. Then you took these these Jeeps or SUVs out to the.
Yes, so the first couple of days we got there on Sunday. I flew out of Charlotte at 8:30 in the morning, and we were in Durango by 1:30, somewhere around in there. Which, I mean, also take 2 hours back for the time zone. It was like a 6 hour. It was 4 hours from Charlotte to Denver, and then there was an hour layover in Denver, and then, like I said, like 40 minutes from Denver to Durango. But so we got to Durango. I rented, we had the car rental and stuff like that, and so we drove down to Farmington, New Mexico, which it's kind of like it's a bigger area. It's a little bit easier to be a hub if you're not from the area, because anything that you would want to get to is within 40 or so minutes, and from where it is a bigger area, like the woman that we were working with, this woman named Gina, and she said, in Farmington, there's a lot of people who speak Navajo, and she knew that one of the videos that Xiaomanyc wanted to do was speak Navajo to people.
Wow.
And so we stayed in Farmington for Sunday night and Monday night. And then Tuesday, we got up and we drove to Rock Point, Arizona, which is like, I think probably an hour-ish, maybe an hour and 20 minutes or so away from Farmington. And we met with Gina, who then we followed her, and she took us to the family.
Oh, wow.
The first couple of days, so the first day we got there, even though it was early, we kind of just took everything in, kind of seeing a little bit of the town, the layout. I was nervous because I was driving, and I'm from an area that's really small, and I saw that the population of Farmington's like 45,000, but it was so easy to get around, man.
Was it?
Yeah, that was no problem at all. And so we drove around a little bit, found the sweet Mexican spot to eat at, which we actually ate at. Well, we stayed in Farmington 3 nights, and all 3 nights we ate at this Mexican restaurant because it was that awesome.
You guys could have busted out another video right there,
But so day two, we woke up and we went and filmed the Speaking Navajo video that he just released. And we did that for a pretty good while. And then we came back, kind of hung out for a little bit, and we were sitting in the hotel, and he said, "Hey, you guys want to go find Shiprock?" Which is the giant rock that I posted that picture of being in front of. And of course, that's what I love, man. You got to surround yourself with people who would do what you do. Because I know a lot of friends, if I was like, let's go to Shiprock, they'd be like, oh, I mean, it's kind of far away. We'll drive past it. But it was like, you want to go to Shiprock? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So we got in the car, and drove back to Shiprock, and ended up having to go. So the road only takes you to a certain point, and then it becomes this off-road thing. And it's another one of those examples of, again, surround yourself with people. Oh, you can't wait. I'm not sure when Daydreamer 444. It should. I mean, probably within a few weeks, a couple weeks, and it should be out.
Man, after this, I'm gotta watch this Xiaomanyc video. Then, man, I can't wait to see yours, dude. That's gonna be so sick.
Yeah, but so we get to these roads, and Xiaomanyc he was like, well, I guess let's keep moving forward. And again, it's, surround yourself with people who would do, because it'd be so disappointing. Like, well, let's just take the pictures from the road. Like, nah, dude, we flew across the country. Let's go find this thing.
Heck yeah, man.
And so we started driving, and of course, there's people who live back there, so there are some no trespassing signs. You have to be careful that you don't get on someone's property.
I imagine, yeah.
And so we just, and of course, it was a weird thing too, because we didn't know how close you could get. But if you look online, like, people are standing, on it. Like, you can't climb it. Like, that would be very disrespectful. But obviously, don't get up on it and like be crazy. But you can get close enough to it where you can get like a really, really good picture. And or at least they let the celebrities do it. I guess if we're in the same, I know the celebrities get special privileges sometimes, so we started driving to it, and from the pavement, when the pavement ended to getting to Shiprock, we probably drove a good 45 minutes or an hour just in the middle of the desert trying to get closer to this thing. And you kept thinking that you were up on it, because so Shiprock is 7,200 feet. So it was over a mile high. Like, just the rock itself is literally over a mile tall.
Oh,
and so we kept going, and we kept thinking we were on it, and kept thinking we were on it, and then finally we thought we were on it again, because we were like, all right, cool. So we stopped. And then we were like, all right, well, let's walk a little bit further. So we started walking, and we even though we thought we were at the base of it, we walked far enough to where you couldn't see the car anymore. Like, it was so crazy, man.
How'd you end up finding it?
Just because it's nothing but dirt paths out there, and just any path that would branch off that looked like it was going towards it. We just took that. So
it was literally just like playing it by ear in the desert. These trails going off. Man. And you were in charge of driving. You were behind the wheel.
Yep. Well, they're from New York. They don't drive.
But I think that must be a cool experience in and of itself, just to be like in the desert, you driving. Yeah. It's like, man. Yeah.
No, it was cool, man. It was. We'll see. And honestly, it's probably good too, because from where I'm from, which I know a lot of places in the United States don't, but they don't take care of the roads here. So I have pretty decent experience with like potholes, constant jerking around. You hit something that you don't even know what it is, and the wheel jerks, like that kind of stuff. So yeah. And then we were like, once we got there and took some pictures, it was kind of one of those realizations where it was like, hey, we need to get back, because if it gets dark out here.
I was just going to ask, what time was it?
Yeah, that we took, hold on, I can probably tell you exactly what time I took a picture. Hold on. Let me look at my phone here, because I know it logs that stuff. So, where are we at? There we go. This picture was taken at 4:31 p.m. So we actually still had a little bit more time. We still kind of hung around a little bit more, but so we still had a decent amount of time. But again, not exactly knowing the way back, and knowing that we were going to have to navigate, trying to figure out. Because the thing is, it's not like at that point we could go back to a path and say, well, the houses and stuff are over here. You're so far in the desert, you can't see any. It's literally just flat land as far as you can see.
Of course.
So we obviously, knew that we needed to leave in a little bit of time to be able to get back and not be lost in the desert in the middle of the night. So we finally got back, and it wasn't dark. We even made it all the way back to Farmington before it got dark. So, it worked out. But again, you never know.
No, of course.
And like I said, from where we'll go that way, because that's where you see that house over. There's that house, or it's not like Shiprock where everything's a mile and a half tall. Like, you just play it by ear and hope that you can get back.
And you were saying that with these guys, it was just like a matter of yes, and that you were going to go, and that was it. And if you were with your other buddies, maybe they'd say, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about too. Like, I wonder how many people when they get to the dirt path are just like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is as far as you can go. Let's take pictures and roll out. And that's not what we came here for. Like, we came here for an adventure and a journey and an experience, and within respectful boundaries. We're not leaving until we get that. Like, we're not gonna disrespect anything or anything. We're not gonna. But I mean, if there's a will to get there and it's respectful and it's anything, then absolutely, we're doing it.
Well, I mean, it's good that you're with people that felt that way. I'm always about my come up, and one of the things I've learned about is that they say it's an interesting topic, and they say, the top 5 people that you spend the most time around with, basically you're the average of that, right?
Yeah. I saw a TikTok on this the other day, actually.
I started thinking about it. This wasn't a recent, but this happened like a year and a half ago. I'm like, oh damn! Like, I'm literally in like the same situation as the 4 or 5 people that I hang around. And it's quite interesting. You're kind of in the same place in life, doing kind of similar things. Yep. So it's always best to think about like who's in your circle, because they could take you down or help you come along for the ride.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And that's that's what it's about. And taking advantage. I don't want to say taking advantage like the way that people think of that, but taking advantage of an opportunity, when it's given to you. I accepted when Xiaomanyc asked me to come to Arizona with him. I accepted the offer before I even asked work if I could get the time off. He was like, "You want to go to Arizona next week?" And I said, "Yes, done." Absolutely. So fortunately, I'm in a very fortunate position where my boss is very understanding, and they will work with you. Obviously, I couldn't just take a week off every single month or anything like that, but within reason, a good boy
so far. So
yeah, within reason, they'll work with you pretty well. I mean, they're very, very easy to work with in regard to that. So I'm very, if I was at like any of my former jobs, well, my other serious job would have been GameStop. It would have been a no-go no matter what.
You're the manager, right?
Yeah. Well, I was an assistant manager for like 6 years. And then the last like month or so that I was there, they actually promoted me to temporary manager, but I found out that was just so they could abuse me on salary and then hire someone in over top of me. So
isn't it always like that, man? Sneaky companies.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you, man, I was so happy that you were getting this chance, because we've talked about like our interest in Native American, culture, history, language. For me, like, if we're talking about indigenous languages, there's no other like subset that I'm more interested in than Native American language, whether it be, Cherokee or Navajo. And it must have been so completely surreal, because for me that seems like a dream, and you like literally got to live something that I don't know, 0.00000.1.
Well, yeah, they don't. I mean, they generally, like, you can go to Navajo Nation, but in terms of getting to stay, like, families don't invite people in like that. Like, that's not, a very common thing, and that's, again, that's with. I think people see the good in what Xiaomanyc does, because for Navajo, there's not a lot. And to see somebody of his size try to learn, if you go and look at the comments on his last video, it's tons of positive, and it's just, wow. Thank you.
Just came out?
Yeah. Thank you for doing, like, because so many people don't think about, these native, it's called Native American because they are the native to this country. We're not native. Like, I'm not. What is American? I'm a white person. I'm like German, French, English, whatever else mixed together. I mean, I'm not American outside of the fact that I was born here. Like, they are the actual true Americans.
This is true.
And going to see that and getting to do something that, not. I mean, if it's a percentage, it is several zeros long after that decimal, and then a 1 of people who can do what we got to do. But, and it was just an opportunity, I think, for Xiaomanyc to be able to give back, and honestly, to get some eyes on a language that may not be as big, or not may not, it is not as big. I think it's considered an endangered language. But the thing is, with him learning it, to an extent of being able to converse a little bit, I think the hope is that for the younger generation of Navajos to see it and say, I need to learn the language of my people.
Wow, I never thought of it like that. Huh.
Yeah, because a lot of the reason Navajo's dying out is because a lot of the younger generation aren't learning it. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it takes the hardest aspects of every language that you've ever studied, and that's what their core foundation is.
Are you serious?
It's subject, object, verb, so the word order's messed up. There's glottal stops in almost every word. There's tones, double consonants, double vowels. There's clicks, or not clicks, but there's like a sound, like a back of the throat. I mean, it is incredibly difficult.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's easy to just say, well, English, why would we not speak English? But like the guy that we stayed with was a dude named Tyrell, and he said that he equates himself to being about 60% fluent in Navajo.
Wow.
And his parents both speak Navajo, obviously. But as his parents are getting older, when they're at home, they speak Navajo. And he said, I feel like I need to learn it because I'll at some point have to take care of them. And if they're going to speak Navajo and slowly forget English because they don't use it because they use Navajo, I have to be able to talk to them.
Right.
So I don't know. It's a good thing that he did that. And I'm hoping that people can, hopefully the younger generation can see that and say, well, this guy, learned some Navajo. So clearly I can also.
Absolutely. I mean,
and the project to me, it hit very, very close to home to me too, because my grandmother, her grandfather, I know we're getting into greats there, but he grew up and always lived on a reservation in North Carolina. He was Cherokee Native American. So obviously Cherokee is not Navajo, but just with it being a Native American thing, it definitely had a special place for me just because of that.
Of course. I mean, it's like the same thing with me, I have Mexican heritage, but at the same time, I feel kind of, some kind of connection to other, let's say Latin people in ways. So I completely get that. And
yeah, man, it was cool. And I wish that I would have taken a little bit of time to try and learn it, but I also know that I don't have, it's not my job, right? It's not, my job is to go to work. I have very spare time, and Navajo, unless you're spending a ton of time, it's hard, but that's the kind of stuff I want to do, for example, if I talk with you and I decide that I'm going to come to Mexico for a few days, then I'm going to spend, I want to spend a good month or so, or a month and a half, just studying a language,
of course,
and then going somewhere just to try and interact.
That was the idea. That's part of the idea, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's what I was going to do for Iceland.
Iceland, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering about that. I thought you were going to do that. Plan a trip, start studying a bit, and see what you can do. And I mean, a nice solid month of Spanish could help. I mean,
maybe. And Spanish would be kind of unfair because I do have a base in Spanish. It's really foggy right now because I haven't used Spanish basically ever in my life, but I've studied it off and on. But I at least have the basic grammar constructs and stuff like that, to where I could, and ultimately, if I went there, I mean, I can ask for the core, directions or
El baño, ¿dónde está?
that kind of stuff. Different food, how much nos puede dar, nos puede dar, whatever, can you bring us nos puede dar, nos puede dar, just so I can say this basic, what would it be, nos puede dar la cuenta por favor, I can say some
I just said sí. You got me talking. You just said that, and I just responded
in Spanish,
without even thinking.
Yeah. So what's going on, Juan Smith? Ewan Smith.
Ewan, right?
Oh,
Ewan
right,
Smith. Come on, man.
right. Sorry.
What are you doing?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, that's and that's what I'm talking about when I say that I want to do, like, so it's like every video that I make is not going to be, well, this week I learned this in Japanese. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to do like month update or 2 month or whatever or whatever I'm at. But I want to start doing just some stuff like that. And it's not that it's going to, because it's not just dabbling. It's planning a trip around what I'm learning just to go there and experience it. And I'm a very firm believer that if you're going somewhere, even if you just learn kind of some basic stuff just to get around a little bit, man, just go there. And I feel like it can make you feel a lot more comfortable and also help you just immerse in the culture a lot more.
Helps with the human connection. They say, man, I understand that this guy can't be learning every language the country he travels to, but he's trying to make an effort on some level, and people will appreciate that. And you know that.
Yeah. Oh Lord, dude. I've seeing firsthand when he was speaking to Navajos when we were over there, like, it's not that nobody was cold, but you would think they were cold based on how warm they got as soon as he started speaking. Like, you could just see the glow on their face and this idea of this guy is learning Navajo, and it just changed. In the video, there's a very specific point where we go and he orders food, and he orders in Navajo, and they love it so much that they invite us in because it's fully closed off. Of course, we have to wash hands, but they invite us in, show us around, and let us make flatbread in their kitchen. Like, they let us cook with them for a few, which in Navajo is a very, very huge deal. Like, cooking with
must be a great honor.
So yeah. So it's just, and seeing that made me think that's what I want to do. Like, I know that, why aren't you sticking with, nobody said I wasn't sticking with Japanese. It's just, I'm not only showing Japanese on my channel. And if I can
don't worry about that anymore, man.
Yeah. Well, if I can learn a little bit and just make that human, because that's ultimately why I got into languages, was human connection.
That's my number one reason.
Communication. And I love the idea of watching this media and understanding it. But if I can go to a store and talk for 5 minutes with somebody, especially in America where they're not from, and make them feel at home in their own language, man, right. Just give them that few minutes of just, I feel like I'm home. That's the goal.
Of course. I mean, that's what, I spoke a lot about how much I admired Moses for just this kind of thing. He would go and speak Bosnian or whatever, you name the language. He would bring people to tears. And, you can say what you want about, he's always repeating the same lines. I don't care. When I see a person.
But that's the common stuff. That's the common sentences. The reason he learns those is because that's what he uses. Anytime he uses those sentences, it's because it's necessary. So that's the reason he learns them.
But what I'm saying is that when you see such a beautiful moments that it's literally like, how can you talk bad about that? I mean, he brought this person to tears because they felt so special, but recognized or, understood or whatever synonym you want to use. But for me, it was an extremely humane channel. And, Xiaomanyc's kind of picking up a little bit where he left off. Now he's branching out from Chinese. You could do the very same thing. I mean, Moses was your friend, so keep his honor, legacy alive in ways that you can. Yeah, man.
I just want to do that stuff. I did that for Indonesian. I learned 3 or 4 months, then traveled there for New Year's. That sounds awesome. You should stick with Japanese. Yeah. Nobody said I wasn't sticking with Japanese.
Man, I'm just such an old school Seabolt live stream fan. Like, I can't remember what, but this person reminded me like another person that was like Seabolt something.
Seabolt's love child or something like that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's all good, man. I get it. I mean, but like I said, no, I think it's hard for people to understand that you do more than, and I'm not saying this person in particular or whatever, but I think it's hard, and you can probably relate. Like, it's hard for people to understand that just because you're not posting it on YouTube, or like, it doesn't mean you're not doing it. I could spend 8 hours a day studying Japanese and then just talk about what I learned in Icelandic. It doesn't mean I'm not studying Japanese. It's just, that's what I'm showing you is what I've studied in Icelandic. So,
I mean, your channel started as you doing a taste of all kind of languages, and you kind of got serious about Japanese. I mean,
yeah, and that's not going anywhere. I've like, just especially talking to Matt, because Japanese is my core focus on what I want to be the best in. That doesn't mean that, again, I'm not going to start studying language. Like, I'm not going to just be like, okay, well, like, for example, I know Lindy's learning Hungarian right now. This person's awesome. But like, so like Hungarian, just because I've seen people talk about Hungarian lately, like, I'm not going to just start studying Hungarian just to do it. I'm no longer the dabbler that I was. If I study something, it's going to be because of. So, for example, the trip to Iceland is canceled. Guess what I'm not doing? I'm not studying Icelandic anymore, because the whole point of that was because I was going there and I wanted to at least be equipped with some phrases and stuff. So now that that's not happening, I don't need to remember like kvahetertu. Like, I don't need to remember that stuff because I'm not going. Now, when I decide to go again in the future, or like, well, when I can go again, hopefully my flight doesn't get canceled, then I will start studying again. But it's not what I'm going to do, because that's what I'm going to be dabbling in is going to be because I would be using it. Right.
Well, and if you do come to Mexico as your first foreign country,
man, I was so pumped. I was like, everybody's, especially from America, their first country is either usually like, England or Mexico or Canada. And I was like, man, it's gonna be Iceland.
Yours was gonna be Iceland. Oh my gosh, it's like such a kind of like an overlooked country, but it's like, yeah, I was in Iceland, and so what?
I know, man. I'll still make it. I don't know why they can't. I booked the flight like either late February or early March. Like, I've had it booked forever.
Oh, since you've had your passport, right?
Yeah. Because I had to have the passport for it, because you have to put your like passport information in. You could swim to Iceland. Believe in yourself.
Seabolt fans are hardcore.
I will say that would be great content, and that would probably go viral.
If you're going after the viral videos, man, Seabolt fan has your back. He's gonna listen to that dude. He's gonna you all the ideas.
Yeah, let's see. I would have to. Let's see. I'm gonna look at the map right here. I would probably have to. Well, the thing is, I can't get into Canada, so I'd have to just take off from the tip of Maine. But I would have to fly. I would have to. Oh my gosh, I would have to swim around Nova Scotia. But if I could get up to like, let's see, let's do here. Let's go. Can you search by flight miles to here? What is the distance between those 2 points? I don't think I can.
American man Seabolt swims across Atlantic to reach islands.
Here we go. Let's go. Let me go to Google Earth. I know in Google Earth you can do it. That would be great content. That's hilarious.
Guys, I'm getting ready for the swim across the Atlantic. We're going to do this.
They know what's up, man. That's a viral video. It's just like the guy that went viral for trying to walk across wells in a straight line. Like, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. If Google Earth will look how far it is between like where I would have to swim. Here we go. Here's Google Earth. All right, hang on. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get the logistics of it.
All right, let's do it.
If I could get to Canada is also the other. But then again, to get to Canada, I could just get to Greenland. But let's just pretend I would have to drive where I was taking off from. So let me get the tool here. Where is it? It's right here.
Seabolt swims with manatees.
Starting point. Boom. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh. And keep it going. Keep a spin. All right. So we are looking at, let's change that to miles because I don't understand kilometers. Okay. To swim from where I could get on land to Iceland is 1,400 miles.
Hey man, you got to work for those viral videos. You think they come easy?
Yeah, 1,400 miles to swim.
Like right
that would be from like a random point in Canada.
Like right off the top of your head, if I say, "What do you know about Iceland?" What comes to mind?
I know that their language is the closest to Old Norse, and I know that they. I know that they named themselves Iceland to protect themselves.
As in, like,
to make
here.
people. Yep, because people like a long time ago, from what I understand anyway, it was like when like Vikings and stuff would be raiding the areas, and so they named it Iceland for them to pass, and that's why Greenland is Greenland, because they would go in there and it's so thick with ice they would get stuck there because they wouldn't be able to get out. But that's why it's named Iceland. I know that they have
one of the world's mysteries. Why is Greenland called Greenland and Iceland?
Yeah, it was to protect Iceland.
Slide masters.
And then they have an incredibly dangerous, poisonous shark up there that they will kill, and then they will basically let it ferment. They will let it rot, and then you can eat it. Like, that's the only way it's safe to eat, is to let it rot. So they have apparently some really famous hot dogs too. That's like
an Icelandic hot dog, man.
Yeah,
try that.
There's like a food truck in Reykjavik,
Yeah.
That makes these hot dogs, and it's like, it doesn't even sound like anything crazy, but I guess, but like there's like some sort of like grilled onions that they put underneath between the bun and the hot dog, and there's some other stuff on it. So, and then there's active volcanoes there. Like I said, it's got the beaches with the black sand. Glacier. There's actually a cave. If you go in the wintertime, there's a cave there that like the glacier will freeze, and you can actually like hike through a glacier.
Wow. I was watching this Ukrainian, there's an amazing Ukrainian kind of travel vlogger, and he went to Iceland, and I mean, I just saw how beautiful it was, but he had like a 2000 camera like setup that he just randomly left behind, and he literally went to the police station and it was there. So Icelandic people, well, hats off to you,
I think a lot of countries are like that. I think that just as Americans, we're jaded because everybody here sucks. Like, and I mean that, I don't mean that quite the way, but I mean like in America, you almost are trained to think the worst of anybody, like have your guard up at all time. And I think that that's I don't think that that's a good way to look at things, because I do think inherently that most people are good. It's just what you see and what you never hear about the person who did this awesome thing. You only hear about the bad thing. So, I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say overhyped by the media. I'm not trying to get into that whole, but I mean, I do think that there's a lot of stuff that is good. It's just we don't hear about it because that doesn't sell tickets.
Yeah, but I know. But like anytime like you leave something that's nice and easily just like takeable, I consider that to be like gone. When my brother was here in Mexico, he was like at a local bar, right? And the guy was always losing his iPhone. Like he lost like 3 iPhones here. But this time he just left at the bar, and he's just like the next day he's like, "Oh, so yeah, I left my phone at the bar. You want to like go with me to try to see if they got it or call?" And I'm like, "You're an optimistic dude, I mean,
yeah. It's not there.
iPhone's just not going to be there waiting for you, man."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe it's, I don't know. Yeah, Iceland seems like they're really respectful of other people. I know Japan is like that too. I had a buddy who basically blacked out over there, and he woke up on a train. And when he woke up, his wallet and his glasses were tucked in his hat, sitting behind him, so he wouldn't lose it. And he woke up, and everything was still there, and everything.
Wow, a country that takes care of you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Dang, that was in Japan?
Yeah, that was in Tokyo.
And that was in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What languages are you? Is he asking you or me?
Yeah, we both read that comment at like the same time. I speak Spanish and Russian. I've been learning Russian since the 1st of January 2019, so I can do a little bit of that.
Hablo un poco español y ya немного понимаю по-русски.
I have a feeling that Jonathan is from Brazil. I'm just going out on a limb. Is that true?
Yeah, I'll never forget.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I say that all the time, man, but I've not even thought about Russian for over a year, and that little bit of Pimsleur I did. It burned it into my skull. So that's a testament for how well that program just burns things into your and the thing is, when I say that sentence, what's crazy is because you always hear people talking about translating versus actually acquiring the language and speaking. There's not a how do I say that? It comes out, and that's just what it is, and I know what that is. Like there's not a translation. It's just
that's language acquisition in its essence. Of course, on very small levels, but I mean, that's the idea, you know.
Yeah, that started happening a little bit with me in Chinese.
You were studying that for a while, weren't? I mean, well, you did a 40-hour, 7-day language challenge.
Yeah, that started having like sometimes I'll have to think about it, but then there's other times where I'm like, I don't know what's something I could say like, the other thing is I can speak. I know how to say I can speak a little bit of X language in a bunch of different languages. So, like I can speak a little bit of Chinese, but then I can also say, like 我喜欢中国菜, like I love Chinese or I like Chinese food or let's see what I want. 我要看书. I want to read. Like there's stuff I can say, and it's not really a think of what's happening. It's just there. Like Jomo. Let's see. Jomo. Like on the weekends. Jomo. What do I do on the weekends? I don't know. Jomo. 我学. Yeah. 我学中国. Like on the weekends, I study Chinese. Like it's just like. There's a lot of stuff that's just burnt. And a lot of that is because I've taken when I did the Chinese, I did a different approach than what I had been doing with Japanese.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah, well, because again, just doing something a little bit different. I took that whole 40-hour, 7-day thing and just did completely like a different language and a different approach.
Nice.
And what I did a lot of that week was shadowing. Anytime I would learn a sentence, I would say it aloud, and I get the argument of you shouldn't do that. But I also, that made it stick in my head a lot. It like that helped it stay in my head. So anytime I would study Chinese during that week, I would say, like, if I learned a new sentence or a new word or anything like that, I would say it aloud. Like it's just, I don't know. It helped a lot. Now, whether or not the tones are correct, I mean, I'm not arguing that. It was probably butchered and whatnot, but just getting the general idea into my head, it helped it a lot.
Well, that's really cool. And, that's one of the nice things about the 40-hour, 7-day language challenge is that like, you have so much time to study the language that you can really kind of flip things around, experiment a bit, because, when you're on your regular study schedule, of course, you want to be the most effective possible. You want to do what you think is best. But when you have like the world open to study your language, you can really just kind of, play with some things, play with some knobs. And I find that really, really useful.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I picked Chinese too is because I was like, well, maybe I could do a video where I go speak Chinese, because you can find Chinese speakers anywhere. But
yeah, I was wondering about that.
The Chinese restaurant here, it is ran by Chinese people, but the people in front, like the Chinese people, are in the back cooking. Even though they own it, they're in the back cooking, and the people
they got to get that taste right, man.
Yeah, and the people out front are Americans. So I mean, I'm sure I could be like, do they speak Chinese? Can you bring them out here? But yeah. But I also know that anywhere that I go, like it's not like a thing where I have to do here. That's the cool thing about Chinese. If you're learning Chinese and you want to practice it, good luck going to a town that doesn't have a Chinese restaurant. Like it's 9 out of 10 times you're going to be in a place where there's Chinese and you could go and practice.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Xiaomanyc do a video in Mexico, like leveling up at a Chinese restaurant, the Chinese people or something. So basically what you said is
point. Yeah, he went to it was when he was in Tulum. And he went to that Chinese restaurant and they were speaking Spanish and then he started speaking Chinese to him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, when I went to Cancun a couple years ago, like the one thing I wanted to do is like visit that pyramid that's right around there, like in the Tulum area, because it's like what is it, like the 7 wonders of the world. And I really wanted to go, couldn't make it happen. Gotta go back because that looks pretty sick.
I want to talk about.
I want to say.
But
gotta get on that Mexican Spanish, man. That's
gotta get on
all about.
What picture is this of me? When is this picture from that you are using as my profile picture here?
Which classic is this?
Yeah, which picture is that? That looks like the beard doesn't look as big, but that it looks like the look that I have in that one of the new pictures that I took. Anyway, I
knew Seabolt had made it when he had one of them people like the last time, you know.
Yeah. Spanish is new English. Spanish is the new English. Spanish is huge.
Yeah, man.
I think Spanish is spoken by more people than English. Well, natively anyway.
That's so cool that there's more natives of Spanish than of English.
It was posted recently. Oh, okay, yeah. So it was probably the one it was probably the one that I have as my profile picture on Instagram. Okay. But yeah, it's Spanish is huge. Spanish is absolutely huge. Like I said, I still have a weird thing like where I feel kind of I wish that I didn't have the feeling towards Spanish I did when I was younger, when I was taking like Spanish in high school, where it was kind of like you're an American, so you have to learn Spanish. Like that's the way I looked at it, right? Like, oh, it's required. And I really wish that I didn't have that attitude when I was younger, because I mean, it would have benefited me so much. But it was one of those things where it just felt for it. I think it's a good example of, I really wish that the United States would introduce second language earlier than high school. I'm sure that there are some places that do it, but if you could get people just okay with the idea of learning a second language, like, I mean, even in middle school, like just where they're younger, I think it can be a lot more beneficial. Man, you said, especially a bunch of 13, 14, 15-year-olds think they know what's going on in the world and all that stuff, man. Like, I just think it would be so much more beneficial to introduce the idea of second language acquisition, but I know that it wouldn't be quite that. But I mean, like, just the idea of learning a second language, I wish was introduced a lot earlier than 9th grade, at least for where I was at.
I would say I would like to see introduced even before middle school, because at middle school you start to have like preconceived notions, and like if children could just start learning Spanish like the way children around the world learn English, like at 4 or 5, like they're going to be so much more empathetic, more understanding, better humans, bilingual. I mean, it's just like the list goes on, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I know like Lindy always talks about, or not always talks about, I don't know why I said that. The one time that the one time that I talked to her about it, she said that like her earliest memories were speaking to her teacher in English. Like, she doesn't remember learning English because she started learning it so young.
Exactly. So,
I mean, technically, I guess she would be like a true bilingual growing up with Afrikaans and English. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's, and because like depending on where you're at, you know what you need. In the United States, it's Spanish. And I think people have this notion that, oh, if I learn Spanish, I'm giving in, and they're not learning American when they come here. But it's like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, because that's the argument, right? They're not learning American. Well, American's not a language. And also, we're one of the, I think there's maybe 2 countries in the world that on our like list of like national whatever, we don't have an official language. The United States does not have an official language. And if you want to get technical and say, well, the people that come here should learn English because that's what we speak, well, then everybody here should be learning Navajo and Cherokee.
And
because that's the language that was here when we came over here.
And if you want to add more details to it, Spanish, because much of Mexico, much of America, United States, however you want to say, was Mexico. Look at the old map. So like, I don't want to hear about anything like, oh, they're coming across the border. It's like, no, the border actually just crossed them. So all those people that are there are naturally from there. The families from there, generations back. Yeah. The country just happened to change. That was all.
Well, I mean, you can tell in Texas, close to the borders, there's signs that are still in Spanish because that was Mexico. Like part of it was Mexico. So it's like,
but and like, I don't know about in your high school, but mine was like 80% Spanish, 20% French. Like people just, for some reason, just took Spanish. And I don't know if it's because they thought it was cooler or if it thought it was more useful, but the low percentage took French.
Yeah. Well, so in my school, they offered Spanish was the only in-class like instruction you could get, or you could take Latin via like satellite TV or whatever. And there was like, and it was funny because it was kind of broken up into groups. Like the really smart kids took Latin. And of course it was like
academic language.
Yeah. And then everybody else kind of filtered down to Spanish. I know in the school that my wife went to, they had, Spanish, I think French. Well, I know they had French because my wife took French. They had German. And she's not from, it's not like she's from a bigger area than me. So it's really weird. And then actually a school in my county, literally 20 minutes down the road, it's still in the county that I'm in. They offered Japanese. You could take Japanese via satellite.
Wow.
There. But yeah, just where I went to school, it was Spanish and Latin. As far as I know, I don't think there was anything else.
And how many Spanish teachers did you have in your school? And where did they study at? Like
two, I think two. Well, so there was one. I think there was two.
Two at mine.
Because there was one who was full time there, and then there was a Spanish teacher she was an American woman that just learned Spanish to a high degree. She went back and forth between the middle school and the high school because they're real close. But then the Spanish teacher, she was from I want to say Colombia.
Oh wow, you had a native.
Yeah, she was a native. I want to say Colombia, I think, but I can't remember. But yeah,
we had two. One studied in Mexico, one studied in Spain, but they were both American. They were
interesting. Did they when you picked your Spanish, did you pick whether or not you wanted to do European or Mexican?
No, it was just basically like the first 2 years this was a teacher, the next 2 years was that teacher.
Interesting.
But how did you?
No, go ahead.
I was thinking just on my run, I was like, man, we did a lot of flashcards. Like for example, that was like a part of the homework. We had vocab sheets, and we'd have to write out flashcards. The teacher would see that we, did them, and then we would have our vocab test where the teacher would name out like words, and I guess we'd have to like say the Spanish version or something like that. How did you guys go about learning vocab in high school?
I didn't. It was pretty well known that I had no interest. Like I failed that class.
Like Seabolt failed a language
miserably, man. To the point where towards the end, she was just like, "Do you even want the test?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Okay." So I didn't. I don't know how other people did it. I assume flashcards, but yeah. No, I had a 24 for the year in there. 24 average. I failed it so miserably.
Dude, you were kind of like a rebel without a cause, because for you not to even take an exam reminds me of my best friend in high school. Like we had a test one time and the teacher passed out the test and he's like, I didn't even study it. He wrote his name down, turned it in, basically saying, give me zero.
Yeah.
Or like
I
that.
guess, yeah, I really wish that I had a different mentality. Well, I think the thing is too is I know I didn't see where I would use it. I didn't see why it would be necessary with the path that I wanted to take in life or anything like that. And I didn't have the love of language like I do now. That didn't come until, I mean, almost a decade later, because I graduated in 2005. And I did start learning Japanese a little bit in 2009, but ultimately I didn't actually get the language bug, so to speak, until about 2015. That's when I really just started like, okay, this is the idea of communication in a different manner than what I'm used to is incredible. So, I mean, it was a decade later before I was more so appreciative of the idea of speaking in a different language.
Was this around the time you found Moses' channel? Because I know I found his channel like right around 2014. I was just like, wow.
So I can tell you when I found it, because I remember the video that was released, and I didn't find it. My friend Evan introduced me to it. Laos.
The one that lives in
Japan. Okay, here we go. Is this it? Okay, so this video, it's when him and Benny Lewis were going through the mall, and that was in
I saw that one.
July of 2012. So yeah, July of 2012 is right around the time when I started watching Moses.
And then around 2015, you wanted to take part? It took you that long to get around to it, or what?
Yeah, well, because I would just casually watch it, and it was kind of like, oh, this is really. But also, I mean, YouTube was so different at the time. Like, it's not something like you would log into regularly and watch. Like it was, because like YouTube is TV now. Like I watch YouTube. If I watch something, the thing I was watching earlier, I was watching Dark Side of the Ring, which is a show that Vice does about pro wrestling. It's like the darker side of pro wrestling, like people dying and just some of the bad stuff that's happened in wrestling. And I mean, it's they produce it, and they do have their own TV network, but they put a lot of the stuff on YouTube. I mean, YouTube wasn't like that in 2012. So you would log in and you would see all these videos and you'd spend a day or two watching it, but then you wouldn't log on to YouTube for 6 months, or at least I didn't.
Well, I use it as just like a music thing. I watched a lot of live concerts, a lot of live performances of songs. Maybe sometimes you could find like a good documentary about music that they put on there that was like on the BBC. And, since I couldn't see that, I was like, oh, this is cool. That's what or I use like guitar tutorials when I was learning guitar. I used to watch this guy in his tutorials, which were awesome. That's what I used YouTube for back in the day.
Because I didn't get into YouTube regularly, where it literally became a daily habit. So I started my YouTube channel, my original YouTube channel, Seabolt TV. Which was originally just my name, Jonathan Seabolt, but I started that channel in February of 2015.
Okay.
So I started watching YouTube like regularly. I've watched YouTube for a long time, but I started watching YouTube as regular entertainment probably about a year before. It probably took me about a year to where I started my own channel.
Wow.
And then, of course, just being influenced by a ton of different stuff. My original channel idea was called Challenge a Fat Man. And the idea was...
What? Cool.
Yeah, the original idea was I was going to take user comments and complete challenges in order to try and lose weight. How long can you hold this? How long can you do a wall squat? How many sit-ups how many push-ups like that was kind of the idea. It was I don't want to say fan base, but a viewership watching and challenging me to do stuff. And then one night I came home and I had an idea for doing a video called the Netflix Coma, which was just talking about endlessly cycling through Netflix until you don't end up watching anything. And then you just repeat the cycle. And so from there, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do more creative stuff versus just fitness stuff. Because fitness isn't really like, I like the idea of getting in shape, but like I would have no interest in being a fitness like person. Like I wouldn't want to make videos on like how to hang clean, like that's just not what I wanted to do. So I started doing these little like skit ideas. like I did that, and I did a video called if video games glitched in real life, and a lot of that too was also to practice my editing, to where I could do things like I have a video of literally myself talking to myself, like just practicing doing like the mats and stuff like that. And then I discovered Casey Neistat, which was probably the biggest influence to, honestly, maybe even to this day, still the biggest influence. Yeah. And I stayed away from him, not because of anything against them. I heard people talking about him, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, how can you be so big that people are talking? Like, it's YouTube. Like, wow, how are you so big that people are talking about you?
Wow.
And all you do is YouTube. Like, I didn't get it. And so I went to his channel, and it was like, I can't remember what the video was called, but it was basically him starting. He had just finished 1 full year of daily vlogging, and he was starting year 2. And I remember watching that video and just being like, what? That was why was that incredible?
Man.
Why was that so amazing? Because nothing happened, but it was fantastic. Like he just had this personality that I was just like, I want to see everything this guy does, and I don't know why. Why do I want to see this guy skateboarding through the city? I don't understand it, but I do. And that took me down a path where then I started doing daily vlogs, and I got introduced to a couple of other guys that did daily. I was a big Sean Duras fan, and who speaks Spanish. He did mission work in Honduras.
Oh.
And his name is Sean. That's why they call him Sean Duras. Anyway.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. But so I started watching some guys like that, and it just really enthralled me with the idea of daily videos. And at the time, that was good for YouTube. YouTube wanted constant content, like daily content. Like that's what would get you in the algorithm, was popping a video every single day. So I did that for 650 some odd days in a row.
That many days? You have that many videos on Seabolt TV?
I did them every day from June the 6th of 2016 through May something of 28th. I did them almost 2 full years.
And at what point did the language channel idea come up in this kind of?
I don't really know. I know that I originally wanted to do some language content, and I actually wanted to use Babbel. I've tried to use Babbel a bunch, and I always go back and forth on liking Babbel or hating Babbel. But I was like, all right, I'm going to use Babbel, and I want to learn German. So I started. They're private they're not on my channel anymore, but I think it was like the language challenge. I can't remember what I called it, but I was like, I'm going to do that. And I know that from where it's language related, I don't think people would want to necessarily watch that on my main channel. So I'm just going to do a side channel. And so that's where the original name of this channel wasn't Seabolt Speaks. I don't actually remember what it was.
What was it?
I know that it was something, and then I changed it to Lanecast, like language podcast, and then I changed it to Seabolt Speaks. But I don't remember what the actual original name of this channel was, or of my channel. Maybe it was Seabolt Speaks. I honestly don't remember. I guess it's not important, but
and then you just started posting regularly.
So then I just started posting, and then it wasn't really taking off. Not that I was trying to get anything to take off, but it wasn't really doing much. So then I actually have a bunch of hidden videos on the channel where I would do, because I'm really big into like Rubik's Cubes and stuff. So I actually did some puzzle videos, like solving Rubik's Cubes. Like I have, like on my shelf over here, I have a whole bunch of I have anything like 3x3 all the way up to like a 9x9. I have like a mirror cube. There's a thing called a Fisher's cube. Like there's a whole bunch of like Rubik's cubes and stuff that I have. And so I actually did several videos of that. And then I was like, all right, no, Random Hobbyist. That was what it was. It's called Random Hobbyist.
Oh.
Yeah, Random Hobbyist. Because I didn't change the name when I did the cubing stuff. It's just Random Hobbyist. because I was like, well, that's a hobby that makes sense. And so then I was like, nah, I still want to do the language stuff, because I was still just so like, man, I want to do some language videos. And of course, that's when I was watching Moses regularly. Benny was releasing regular content at the time on his Benny Lewis and Fluent in 3 Months channel. I know that he, like, at one point he was doing a series with his then girlfriend learning Russian.
Right, I saw that too back
yeah.
in the day. Yeah.
And I remember looking forward to those updates. Of course, watching your Steve Kaufmans and stuff, and just watching these people. I was just like, nah, I think this is what I want to do, is watch, I still want to make language content. And then, yeah, it just kind of, it's grown so much that it's now become my main channel. And I used to call this my second channel. And now it's, the Seabolt Speaks is way more successful than the other one. But I also think that there's a lot to do with the niche there. I think the idea that it's a niche, but yet more, so you're going to have more people watch it on less subscribers versus more subscribers and less watchers because of the random content. Because I was doing more views on this channel with 400 subscribers than I was on my other channel with 1,500.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it's just because it's niche, because every video, is going to be languages.
And, I think one of the really interesting things was when you started doing these live streams, and you like were just so completely epic with your schedule. Like, it was like unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, where did this idea come from? And like, how did you get it started, getting the ball rolling? Because like, that's when I started watching your channel, like, let's say around January, February of last year. And I'm like, all right, it's pretty interesting, pretty cool. But like, you completely hooked me when you started with the live streams,
Yeah, well, so you may not believe this, and even anybody listening may not believe this even after watching this video, but I enjoy talking a lot. And when I get going, it's sometimes I just don't stop, and I don't mean to, like, I just do. And so I knew that I wanted to talk to people. I tried starting a podcast actually on my other channel, just talking to people, but I was like, you know what? People like to hear people talk about languages. And I said, but there's so many times when you listen to a podcast and you're like, oh, I wish they would have asked them that. I wish they would have asked them that. And so I said, I don't want to do, because Langcast was a language podcast. I did a couple of episodes with Dakota Abroad. I did some with Fingtam Languages. I did some with a couple of different people, and they were all pre-recorded, and then I would just upload them. And I thought, I don't want to do that. Like, there's so many times where you don't think to ask something that someone maybe why. I said, I want to do these live. And so trying to figure it out, I wanted to ask, some bigger creators, but everybody always is like, oh, there's just so much going on. I don't have the time. And when COVID happened, I said, gotcha. I know you got time. I know you've got time. And so when I started them, I don't know. It just kind of became a thing on its own. I did kind of become a slave to the idea. Like, I kind of became a slave to the metrics, though. That's why I was doing like 5 and 6 a week, is because I just became addicted to the idea of how many subscribers I would gain off of a live stream, how many views I would get, how much watch time I was getting per live stream. And I think that was kind of dangerous. And I think that did a lot of harm to me, not to the channel, but just to me. I think people get way too addicted to their analytics versus just have fun. Like, I get it. But at the same time, I think I became a little too, a little too infatuated with like that kind of stuff.
I would have never guessed, because when I watched this, I saw you having a blast.
Well, no, it was
cool
fun.
thing.
It was fun, but I also thought, oh man, if I don't do it a day, then I might miss something. Or something like that. Like, I kind of let myself get into that habit where I started. So, because like there were literally weeks when I would do it 5 and 6 nights a week.
I mean, it was like unlike anything I've ever seen. I'm like, to the point where like I tried to watch most of them, but they actually got in the way of my studying. I made a video. This was one of my first videos, how like I like your podcast or your live stream so much, but like it's actually getting in the way of my own studies, because literally when I had finished work, literally like at that same minute, you would be going live, and it was just like I needed to unwind a little bit before studying. But the problem was that I would get so sucked into the interview that like it would always just be like, dang, and like.
No, man, it was fun, and I like what I'm doing now. I did the interview, which it's been a little bit now, but I am going to do another one. And I am going to do them. They're just not going to be 20 a week. And so, it's, I don't know. I like I said, I like talking to people, and I'm a very firm believer that listening to an interview like that, like somebody listening can take something away, because nobody does things the same exact way. And so that was kind of the thing too, is, and at the time, like it's one of the few times that I will say I kind of saw the future of what it could be. I'm not saying I'm a smart guy, and I'm not saying that I have my finger on the pulse of anything, but and I'm not saying that I created anything. That's not what I'm saying. But I saw something that didn't exist in the language community. And I decided to, I'm not saying I'm the first person that did a live podcast either, but I saw something that wasn't happening. Because now, and again, I'm not saying, it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn here, but I mean, I see people do live interviews somewhat regularly, and that's fine. But like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I saw something that wasn't happening, and I was like, that's my idea. I'm going to make this happen.
Right. It's just that you were a bit ahead of the curve. It's like it's like the idea of like, the 40-hour challenge. Like, I'm sure people did something like that before, but it's like, you did something, you put it out there, and it is what it is. But
that's the internet, man. It's nobody created anything. You've got people that you associate, like Matt. Matt didn't invent studying by immersion. Katsumoto didn't invent studying by immersion. It's just who you hear from it, who you hear about it from first.
True, and who like has the spotlight at the time,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But tell me, I really want to know. Like, you did so many interviews, and like, who are like 4 or 5 of your favorite interviews? Because you did them with really well-known polyglots. You did it like with up-and-comers. You did with some with people that don't even know them. So,
it's hard to say, because I enjoy talking to anybody. I really enjoy. Obviously, I enjoyed doing the ones with Matt and Lindy and a few people like that. But I also really enjoyed chatting with honestly people just from all over, man. Like like, what's his name? What Way Too Lang, the guy that does he writes the books. Why do I not think of his name? I feel terrible. I hope he's not watching this. Is it Kelvin? Kevin? What is that dude's name? Oh, Keith. Yeah, Way Too Lang. I was thinking Kelvin. It's Keith from Way Too Lang. Like, guys like that. Like, I don't know. Like, everybody just had such a cool. Which Keith I used to love. He used to make some content where he would go out and like he would go to a market. He was learning Chinese, and like his wife or his girlfriend or friend, I honestly don't know, would just pick something up and be like, what is this? And he would say it in Chinese. And I was like, what a cool idea, like what a super cool idea. And then, man, hold on. Let me go to my channel. Let me see. Like, I talked to so many freaking people, man. There's so many. All right, here we go. Obviously, I have a soft spot for all the, the MIA guys that I did interviews with. For example, the Japan Code. I love that guy. I think he's one of the coolest dudes on the planet. And I absolutely loved chatting with him. And then like Go Billy Korean. I think that dude, I even told him during the interview, I said, I wish there was a U for Japanese, because I think he does such incredible work. Word of Shane, who used MIA for Spanish. That dude is just an absolute information beacon. Just so much information. I love talking. Okay, yeah, Natalia Garza. I think she's absolutely incredible. Does some really cool stuff. Okay, well, obviously, I love Chris. Does AJAP, but yeah, dude, I think one of the coolest things that I think that I did was talking with the guy that his name is Robert, that developed Bluebird Languages.
I remember that one.
That was incredible. Kinuku Ninja, I feel like I could talk to that dude every day of my life. He's a super awesome guy. Again, a lot of these are the MIA guys like Jordan. Days of French and Swedish. Lamont is an awesome dude. I think he's super cool. Valeria, yeah, I remember talking to Valeria because I remember I never knew what her actual name was. Like I could, and I was like, oh, Valeria, and she was like, oh, you're still pronouncing it wrong, and I was like, alrighty then. So
you got it right now, though, right?
I got it right now. Yeah, I got it right now. So, let's see. Luke, yeah, I did one with Luke. I always enjoy talking to.
And you had one that was like near 4 hours, I think. 3 hours.
That was with language struggle, the struggling linguist. I haven't seen her post in a long time. I don't know what she's doing, but yeah, that one lasted. That one was 3 hours and 11 minutes.
I like the ones when you and Tyler would get together from Armchair Linguist.
Yeah. I love talking to Tyler too. Yeah, he's always got some good information.
And you had like Gabriel the Polyglot, which I don't see him do many things. Like you got people that like are kind of like, he's really well known, but like I've never seen him too often on other people's stuff, you know.
Yeah, he's I was actually looking. Yeah, here. Yeah, Gabriel Silva. Yeah. He's a cool dude. He's a really cool dude. Oh, and you know what? I don't even see it on here, but I know I talked to him. Eric from Link. Yeah, here it is. Eric from Link. He's a cool dude to talk to.
I think mine was like 1 or 2 after his.
You were right after him. Yeah, you sure were. Which the Matt versus Japan one's still and actually the guy that the hypothetical tiger that I just talked to, I thought he was a really cool dude. I really like talking to that guy. That's the thing, man. Like I get rolling and like I end up talking to these people and I'm like, I feel like I could be friends with all these people. Like, because there's the common interest of language, and like I didn't feel like I interviewed anybody that thought they were better than anybody else because they could speak a language or anything. So it was just, I don't know, everything I thought was really cool and stuff. So, and you know, honestly, I think starting it up now, there's a lot of people who have come up, no pun intended, in the language community. And I feel like there's more people to talk to now. I feel like at the time I had kind of exhausted my supply, so to speak.
You just like took over like language learning Twitter and got everyone on, everyone.
I got to figure out what's happening. Speaking of that, because I keep getting followed, like just it's like every few seconds my notification goes off. Yeah, I've gained like 20 followers today. I don't know what's happening. Like I don't know if I have a video maybe that's doing well. I don't know. I keep getting followed on Twitter. I need to figure out. I mean, that's cool, but something's happening somewhere in some sort of algorithm that's taking people to me. So whatever it is,
it's really interesting.
I'm happy, but
I've been thinking about this lately, and I know that you kind of you've seen it too because you've been in this language learning community like me for quite a while. You know, I consider that we are in the second era of the language learning community. And
I saw you post about that. Yeah.
What does that mean? Or like, you know, basically I consider like the first real era was like, you know, last decade when you had guys like starting like Luke, I mean, Steve was posting all of these guys that we know are like basically like the legends of this community. You know, their legends were made like last decade, and they were posting like such amazing things. And like, I mean, I was watching it all, just being like, oh my gosh, it's incredible. But now that this new decade has, you know, come upon us, we've actually entered, in my opinion, a new era of the language learning community, because, sure, you still have some of those like really huge, awesome guys present. Some of them have gone a little more commercial, so they don't post like that really insight like they used to, but I mean, it is what it is. But you have all these new people coming along that are making a contribution, and I think it's really interesting because we can take all that we learned from like this wealth of knowledge by these great language learners, and we can make kind of additions, evolve it. I think Matt is really instrumental in this, because look how many people he's influenced. His reach is pretty impressive. I think it's interesting as heck.
And the funny thing is he's influenced people that don't know that he's influenced them, because anytime I would talk about, Refold, formerly MIA, whatever you want to call it. Well, I mean, it's Refold now, but when I would talk about MIA, people were like, no, I've heard of immersion learning, but and I'm not, obviously Matt didn't invent, again, I just literally just said that Matt didn't invent it, but when you think of immersion learning now, it's synonymous with Matt vs. Japan. Like it's that. And so, and there's people who would be like, I've heard people talking about this, but what is it? So, I mean, like there's people know what it is, even if they've not necessarily heard of Matt, which that's getting kind of hard now, because his channel continues to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think too, Matt, so going with your second generation and all that stuff, I think it's a good point, because I do think that in the past generation of your Moseses, your Lucas, your Benny Lewis's, your Steve Kaufman's, and all that stuff, it was the idea of multiple languages. And I honestly think that that's still a thing. Your Xiaomas are huge, and I'm not saying they're not, but I do think that there's this thing in the language community now, myself included, where it's just like, you know what? That's all cool. And I would love to make those videos of going out and speaking.
Right.
But I do think that there's a stronger pull now for people to be really good at one or two languages versus the idea of just this constant dabbling. And I think that's where Matt has changed language a lot, because people see that and they're like, wait, I can get to a high level of fluency. Okay, let me actually try that. Like, I honestly think when you said that tweet, like I didn't even have to think about what you meant. I knew exactly. I was just like, that's true. And he is it's kind of the, well, I don't want to say LeBron. I'm not a big LeBron James fan, but we'll say the Michael Jordan, and then ushered in obviously Kobe, but then like the idea of like LeBron James leading that new generation. That's kind of what it is. You had your Michael Jordan and stuff, and he's kind of the new guy. And I feel like he's changed, which I don't think LeBron's changed the game that much. I guess we'll say Steph Curry more so but he's changed the idea because of what he did, and to become, so good at a language. I think that more people are like, okay, I can get past just conversational if I just continue to work for it. I think that Matt ushered in this second era, so to speak. And I do think that he, I think that he's changed a lot of people's minds. Not even that he's changed it as much as just people. I think that people see what he's done and they're like, I want to be good at a language. Like, I want to be that good at a language.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure he's helped a lot of people see, like, just to get out of the rat race, you don't have to be accumulating languages. I mean, like, study a language and study it as long as you want, and take it as far as you want, and don't be in this kind of let be a polyglot or something. Like, let being a polyglot come natural through your love of language. Don't be trying to get the results, process.
I'm not a big fan of, because I actually have a video on my channel about why I don't like the word polyglot, or whatever the case may be. And it's just because, like, so many people see it, and it's become this weird badge of honor for people, where it's like, I speak multiple languages, but it's like, but do you? Like, and it all depends on what you want it to mean. But, especially when you're monolingual and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a polyglot. You've already set yourself up for failure. You only speak one and you're already shooting for 4. Come on, man. Like, let's just, and I think that's a lot of my problem in the beginning too. When I started this channel was I was like, let me learn all these easy languages at the same time so I can say that I speak this amount of languages. And what is that? It's arbitrary. Who cares? Right. I don't care. I think it's cool that some of the stuff that people do, but I'm not more impressed with somebody who speaks 96 languages at a very busted, broken level versus a guy who speaks 1 or 2 at a high level. Like, and I get the entertainment aspect. Heck, it's literally some stuff that I'm going to be trying on this channel, so I'm not knocking it. It's just like, but the idea of like, who cares? Like, really, who actually cares?
Right. I mean, you have to be doing things to please yourself. I mean, come on.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. It's. I don't know. It's that Matt made a tweet the other day that I thought. Let me go find it real quick so I don't misquote him. But he made a tweet and I was like, yeah, dude, 100%. Hang on, let me find this here. Underrated video. I'm looking for a video editor. Where are we at here? Oh, here we go. I get quite a lot of comments from Japanese viewers nowadays, and they're always brimming with positivity. The only people who criticize my Japanese seem to be other foreigners, and that's so true. And not just Japanese, in any language. People who criticize are people who actually don't speak the language themselves.
Isn't that the truth?
And they're also like, well, you're not learning the way that I'm learning, therefore you're not doing it right. It's so funny. Amen.
It's like the people who don't do will think they can come on the people that do. It's like, it's going back to like people always kind of like dismissing Spanish, saying it's so easy, but then like they don't speak it, or even if they do speak it and I hear them, I'm like, oh man, you should never talk about Spanish being easy again.
Anybody who says it's easy and then can explain to me a reflexive verb is well, I know that's not gonna happen. Like, which I finally, after years, I don't know why I couldn't get my head around it, but it finally just one day clicked, and I was like, oh, so you conjugate the verb to who's doing it, and the reflexive part is whom that action is going to. It took me like I could not comprehend that.
Oh.
Like, I don't know. Or even like like nos puede dar. Mm-hmm. You, or technically, to us, can you bring?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. And
or me dusho. To myself, I shower.
It's just like saying, I shower myself. I take a bath. I do it to me, right?
Yep.
But yeah, going back to the whole idea of like learning one language, I think one of the reasons Lamont dropped French is because he's like, oh my gosh, I think I remember him saying that how inspired, or just like he was like shaken up by the fact that Ollie Richards told Matt versus Japan, like, maybe I would give up all of my languages, speak one language like the way that you speak Japanese. And that's a huge statement because like you're giving them spots.
Well, and Ollie, I think Ollie's good at a lot of, maybe that's the fluency illusion, but Ollie to me seems good at multiple languages, like better than average at least a couple languages.
Of course. I've heard of Spanish. It's nice. His Portuguese seems quite nice. I mean, I've studied other languages.
Yep. So he's smart, man. You can say what you want about Ollie, but that dude understands how to make money, and not even like bad, but like, and I like not bad. Like I don't know. Ollie's a smart dude.
It goes to show. I mean, he literally released a product that is now like an essential language learning project. Like his short story books.
Yep.
I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that for Russian.
Yeah, actually, I have the Spanish and Russian one actually.
I mean, it's really nice because it even comes with audio and.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
know. Which I don't know if he ever released. I know he was gonna release a Japanese version, but I don't know if he ever got it. Oh, see, and I used to have a problem with that, right? Like, and this is how I've changed as a person too. Like, I used to be like, well, he wrote the stories and he's getting them translated, but like, yeah, why would he not? Why would you not want a native to make sure it's correct? Like, what a stupid argument by me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, he's not even doing it. He's getting them translated. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the essence
why would you
not as good as possible, and then
yeah. Why would you not? Why would you want them to not be as perfect as they can be? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what a dumb argument on my point. Like, what a stupid argument. He's just getting them translated. Well, yeah. Do you want them in a language wrote by someone who's not 100% like pretty freaking good at the language? Like, what a dumb argument.
I mean, that's one of the things. Like, if it's not done well, I mean, what's the use of even giving it?
Exactly. Yeah. And I do find them to be different than like the mini stories on Link. I do find the mini stories on Link to be kind of weird sometimes.
Yeah.
A little bit, but and I've actually sent, especially in Japanese, like I'll have questions and I'm like, is this, and I'll send it to somebody and they're like, that is not how anything would ever be said.
Oh, wow.
So they can be a little bit weird, which I know that he has them translated, and that it could just be how one person would say something versus how another person would say something. But also, I know Japanese written can be a lot different than spoken Japanese, so maybe that's also part of it. I don't really know, but I don't know, man. I love Japanese. I wish there was something like how 3 ears for Russian or Yo-Yo Chinese for Chinese, or, well, of course, for Chinese, it's literally called Yo-Yo Chinese. Like, I wish Japanese had something like that, which I guess Native Shark is kind of like that for Japanese, but I don't know. Like Yo-Yo Chinese, if every language had a Yo-Yo Chinese, I'd be happy. I think Yo-Yo Chinese is like the best thing ever.
Oh my gosh. All right, man. We should wrap this up, but it's been so nice talking to you.
Oh, yeah. Man, oh wow, 1 hour and 40. I feel it. So I talked for 1.5 hours and you got 10 minutes in.
No. We were talking about a lot of things from rap to applications.
You should go listen to that Ari the Rugged Man song. Go listen to The People's Champ by Ari the Rugged Man.
I mean, if you say he's that good, I'm gonna believe you because I know you know your hip hop. So
he's the man.
Right on.
He's the man.
All right, brothers.
Yeah, man. Thanks for chit chatting, man.
Always a pleasure. I mean, I've wanted to catch up, and the last thing we didn't have much time to talk other than like the challenge. But
yeah,
I'm glad that your trip went well. I mean, I'm really happy for you. It's really awesome, and
yeah, man. Thank you.
Get back on the grind. I know you've got some great videos. You've told me about some. I think they sound really good. So keep your eye on the prize, brother.
Just got to keep moving. Canceled flight to Iceland or not, we got to figure something out. So
that's right.
All right,
man.
Cool. Later, dude.